Okay, we are live.
Yay!
Yay. Yeah, we did it. We're here. A little bit later. But we're here. Right, we were talking about topics for today. So, topic for today as a general loose kind of thing. Kind of centered around the autumnal equinox, right? But also kind of talking about the making of packs, because I think it does tie in, because like a lot of it's about community, you know what I mean, and like the pact you're making with your community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
I think,
so that'll be our general topic for today. But before we dive into said topic, anyone have any particular pertinent life and or current event updates or things they need to share? Scream into the void.
Just trying not to die.
I'm feeling good, I think.
My shoulder's hurting.
The two sides of the coin. I'm trying not to die. I'm feeling good.
It's funny because, when you were like, any life updates, anything, whatever, it's like your mind immediately goes to the world outside, like. But it's
always external, never internal.
Yeah.
I was watching that Subway Takes, that internet series that's around. I forget the guy who hosts it, but anyway, there's these short videos. They're called Subway Takes, and this guy, he interviews people on the subway in New York. And I always get pushed these videos, and this one video, I don't know who it was that he was interviewing. I didn't recognize them, but they were saying that society is over therapized. Like, that was their take. That's his whole thing. He sits down and he's just like, "What's your take?" Well, I think society is like over therapized, right? Like we're trying to do too much kind of therapy, because like it's kind of like focused on like how do you fix you, right? And it's like, okay, but the problem with me is because society at large doesn't like me. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not about you necessarily.
A lot of young therapists, a lot of therapists in general, because I follow a lot of professional therapists online and stuff, and a lot of them talk about that. They talk about how a lot of their patients are, they're talking about things that are, one, difficult for them, things that they're dealing with as well, and so they can sympathize and empathize with us. But also, it's like, how do you get people who are rightfully upset about the things going on around them? How do you adjust to things that are constantly assailing you? Like, I keep feeling as if, like, and don't get me wrong, like, my therapy helps me, but the thing is that it's like it's a constant struggle back and forth, right? Like, I calm myself down, I regulate, and then something else happens and I have to re-regulate myself again.
Yeah, it just kind of feels like one crisis after another, and even small things feel like big things just because of the backdrop of everything else that's going on, And I don't know, it can be very difficult, and I think that's why I think, like, for me, in a lot of ways, I think a lot of my anxieties come from the fact that we don't have a community social net. There's no... SSI is Social Security is barely what it is. You know what I mean? You have to fight tooth and nail to get that thing, even when you do qualify for it. So, and it isn't shit. So it's just like, I guess, like, that's what it is. A lot of my anxieties come from that. That we as a society are failing to meet our own needs, and I think that's why. I think that's what's driven a lot of our more recent episodes, which I still have to edit and upload. I'm so sorry. But I think that's what's driven a lot of the a lot of the conversations in each of those episodes, because it's just a lot to process, right? You're kind of getting bombarded and everything is ramped up much faster. I know everyone's like, "Oh, we have this playbook. We've all seen this play out before," and it's like, yes, we've seen it play out. Clearly, some people are listening, some people are not, but it's also playing out really fast, like really fucking fast.
Yeah,
So
it is.
it's a lot to, I guess, adjust to on the fly. And so I think now, I'm not saying it's like a new normal, but I think now I'm adjusted in the sense of like, oh, okay, there is no relaxing. Like, there is no, like, I was hoping that by the time I got to my 30s, approaching mid 30s, I could just kind of be like, okay, I'm settled in my job. Like, I can really just coast, start to build, like some resources and, build up to a nice pseudo retirement. Because I know me, I won't ever retire, but, nice, I hope my old golden years are, wonderful and, as easy as possible. And that does not seem to be the case right now. It seems to be that we are going to drain you of all your resources while you are in the prime, of your life, the height of your life, and we're just gonna fuck you, and yeah. But I think I'm at a point now where I'm like, okay, the system is designed to fuck the majority of us. That's just how it's designed. That's kind of where we're at with it.
Unfortunately.
And I will do everything in my power to not be fucked by it. Like, I won't comply with this bullshit. Like, I simply won't. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's just kind of where I'm at. So I think that's what's been driving my magic. That's what's been driving, me. I've been trying to break myself out of the anxiety cycle of it all, of like the doom spiral of it all kind of thing. But I think I'm finally coming out of that and just ready to be like, okay, well, this is what we're dealing with right now, huh?
Yeah, I think, pardon me, I think I'm coming to that point as well. I have my moments where I'm still like, the house is
How
on
is this
fire, but,
happening? Yeah.
Yo, speaking of it, can I interrupt real quick? Abe, you
Yeah.
are closer. Can you go upstairs? I left that candle lit.
I
Can
already
you
put
please
it
go
out.
upstairs? Thank you. I was like, oh God, what a moment.
Fire safety, witches. Fire safety. Always and forever. Fire safety.
I feel
Do
like
not
that's
leave
one
your
of my
can-
strongest witch skills.
Is
Is I
fire
just
safety?
don't light shit on fire. I'm so good at it, I can literally leave my candles lit and leave my house to go to the store and come back.
See, I'm an earth witch.
don't do that.
don't trust myself.
No. No, I don't do that. I don't.
That's why I asked my husband, please go make sure I'm not burning my house down.
Fire
you're
and
good.
I are like this.
I have a healthy respect for fire.
Good for the fire. Literally, Scott could have. Oh my God! It literally happened. Scott, we sold a scrying mirror. Did we tell you that?
Yeah, I was keeping up with Jay a little bit, but
Mhm.
I want, we haven't got to.
I know we haven't gotten to my gosh, the updates. But yeah, so it was so lovely. I took a day off of work. It was so wonderful. And my Scots and my Darians, and we had just this great day of making mirrors and just having a ball. And it literally happened to be that day I wanted to light the cauldron candle I got from Trinity's, and got so caught up in whatever we were doing that I just left the candle burning in the living room for like hours. And I'm like, it's fine. We were just outside. But this was like 2 floors away, and I'm like,
All good.
Oops.
terrible.
Everything is fine.
ADHD and witchcraft.
But
That could also be a whole topic in and of itself. Like
neurodiversity.
neurodivergency in witchcraft, because like a lot of witchcraft, a lot of spellcraft is driven by, maybe this is the topic for I don't know, whatever. Here's a tangent, but a lot of spellcrafting and the stuff that I've studied, the stuff that I've come across is very visualization focused, right? You got to keep this image, keep this intent. It's very concentrated effort. And as someone who is literally distracted by everything in their goddamn environment, that can be a lot. So I think that's why a lot of us are drawn to sigils and runes and like tarot and things like that, because it's very visual. And so like we can kind of like, that visual brings us back to center kind of thing. Like it just kind of brings us back to where we need to be putting our energies. And I don't think that's any more or less valid, in terms of working magic.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, like, also, like, think about how many rituals that you've done. Like, you're in the middle of a ritual, your goddamn phone rings. You know what I mean? Like,
None.
sometimes you forget to turn it off, or there's like some emergency call coming through. Anything like that, or public ritual. That's a whole other kind of thing. So I don't know. My own little
So can I
tangent
go on
there.
a little mini tangent here?
Mm.
I'm deeply aware of how different and weird my witchcraft is because, like, I don't have those kind of problems. Like, I was reading through a witchcraft book, and they're like, you should prepare for contingency for when your ritual goes awry. And I'm like, what? And, like, they're detailing all this stuff. I'm like, man, these are never the problems I have. It was like, oh, your fire burns down and causes an issue, or lights shit on fire, or someone offers something absurd that they shouldn't offer in a ritual. And I'm over here like, my problems are when something fucking shows up and causes a goddamn scene as a result of the ritual. Those are my ritual issues I've had. Like when you're doing a conjuring and you don't expect something to just grab the fucking tree next to you and shake it like it's a little twig, or like, I'm tired a little bit.
Yeah, and that can be a lot
When
to
it's
deal
real,
with.
it's really real.
Yeah. I feel like we were
I would say
watching.
that falls under a whole nother category of problems. Like,
Yeah. It does. Yeah.
They
Well,
say they're problems you want to have, but after having them directly, I don't know. I feel like somebody just offering something stupid would be a lot more chill than like an angry spirit showing up being like, "What are you doing on my land, bitch?"
I think it all really depends on the context and what you're doing. If you're just doing some really
Of
very
course.
low key, like public honoring the land ritual, just not trying to do anything specific,
And then
then
somebody gets shot or something.
right, or something, we definitely don't want that to happen.
oh god, it's not.
I
Even
am
broach that
irked. I
subject.
guess I will talk about current events in one way. I am irked to the 10th millionth degree, that in my neighborhood there is a vigil for that motherfucker happening, and I'm irked by it because your racism is showing. That is all.
The amount of
That is all.
whitewashing and just fucking imaginary bullshit they're making up to eulogize this cunt is absurd.
Yeah, like it's all lies. It's all blatant
Like they're
lies.
like, he promoted peace and engaging your opponents. Motherfucker cheered on a child getting shot like however many times. You know what I mean? Like he's
Yeah.
a vile person, and he was a vile person, and he got what he gave.
Right. He lived and died by his words. Simply put. So
He literally had a biblical death: live by the sword, die by the sword.
yeah.
That's what I
I
was
guess
saying.
whatever God he worshipped is like, oh yeah, catch these ethics.
Like
You
it's
know
like right. The same thing I said. Like I said, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. I actually said you live by the radicalized sword, you die by the radicalized sword. But I also said you reap what you sow. If you sow the seeds of hatred and violence, don't be surprised when they crop up on your doorstep. Like I don't understand the pearl clutching. He was a piece of shit. They had a
I do.
vigil here too in South Philly.
Can I
Did
give you
they?
my hot? I've done a lot of research about this topic, and I'm almost assured I know exactly what happened. Take.
Mm.
It was Trump who killed him. Most simply, when you look at all of the evidence, Charlie Kirk was going to talk about more Epstein-related stuff. Trump had announced that any move to talk about Epstein would be met as hostile, and he refused to step in line. So they killed him so they could eulogize him and act like the left had done it and find somebody to pin on so that they could, if you look at every single thing that's happened since then, they've eulogized him, they've given him like a Charlie Kirk Day, they've used him as an excuse to take away the rights of everything else and crack down on like platforms that literally had nothing to do with it, like Twitch, just because Hassan Piker is a really big Twitch streamer on the left and he like gets a lot of content. So now in the next on investigating online radicalism bill, they're looking at Discord, Twitch, Spotify, right? Like just ridiculous shit. Steam, because this guy just played video games and they want to crack down on a lot of whatever they can because they're boomers completely not understanding the internet. And they think, oh, if dissidence is fomenting in video game servers, let's go crack down on video games. That's why you're seeing them talking about doing this with Steam, right? He's 100% an inside job, not to mention that the guy they picked for it was a child, okay? I'm going to just give you 2 facts that completely prove that it wasn't him. One, the text messages were faked. I have pseudo military experience, and they're written in a type of language that even I would push to not use. The way they referred to the cop cars as lingering, that's purely cop speak, right? Or saying drop point, the more common term for public would be a dead drop, right? Saying drop point, lingering, all that type of shit. It's literally cop speak 101. And the second part, what was it? Right. He's just a kid. He's not a professional marksman. They hit the fucking carotid artery right here, which is the one that brings blood into the brain, which is the fastest way to kill somebody because aside from a grotesque headshot, simply because it stops all the flow of blood into the brain. And that's the quickest way to shut it off. And it looks like it hit the spinal column from how quickly he responded and went lights out to the severe trauma via shock. That was a practiced, perfect marksman kill shot from somebody who had killed another person before in the past. That was a professional hit. It was not this fucking 21-year-old kid who just grew up around gun culture unless he hunted, unless he was an avid hunter and had bagged over $12. I do not believe that that guy was the one who made that shot. That is the professional killer's shot. So there was no follow-up shot even. You know what I mean? With the first fake Trump thing, the fake shot. I don't even know if he actually had a follow-up shot or if the kid was just killed immediately after that. But you notice in both instances, they've always framed a young kid, right? It's a pattern, right? And it's very obvious to me that Charlie
radicalized by
Kirk was
college.
not the victim. Charlie Kirk was not the victim of left-right discourse. Charlie Kirk was a victim of challenging Trump on the Epstein files and the right's willingness to dehumanize and kill and use anybody that they see fit, including their own people, to radicalize their own base and to push their own agenda. It's 100% what happened. And if you look at it, too, they didn't even wait for evidence to try and claim that trans people did it. They don't care about what the facts are. They want their civil war. They will do anything. Literally anything, including killing their own people and doing false flags attacks to get a civil war, because that's what that was. That was a false flag murder.
That's a really common argument here right now. A lot of people are saying that. It has pushback from all different groups in different ways. Some people are sort of I support this part, but not this part, or but it is one of the bigger arguments that we hear right now.
It felt weird.
Sure.
So the real facts, basically what Sophia was saying, the guy was a Nick Fuentes supporter. That's what the whole Groyper thing is. He was a chronically online edgelord who possibly had relations with a trans feminine roommate. And that's
even
where
that's been called into questions, actually, because they can't necessarily prove that the person was trans. They're saying it was more likely a bi guy. Go ahead.
So yes, and the other reason that they're attributing this to was the TRN stamping, not carving, on the bottom of the shell casings, which we had a lovely conversation with our roommate who's a liberal, who's also a gun nut. And that was a stamping for the factory that made the casing, which is Turkey. It's a Turkish company that makes the shell casings. Now, him writing "ooh woo, grab my bulge" on the side of that's a sign of him just being a chronically. That's just a sign of him being a chronically online idiot. But that's literally so, and it's insane. It's absolutely insane that the stretches that they can make just from stupid things.
I've also read a lot of the Discord stuff, and it doesn't actually line up with him being a griper or a far right wing person, as they're saying. Everything lines up with the kid that they grabbed just being like a normal ass dude, like just like a normal ass dude,
Just like Luigi.
and maybe not even somebody who did it. Like, let's be clear, from what I've seen,
Exactly.
it really doesn't look like he did it. And they just found somebody who matched some security footage who they could pin it on, right? Between the manufactured text messages and all that shit, I guarantee you this kid didn't do it, and they're just trying to put it on him.
I do
think-
support the theory that it
100. It was a plant.
it was a manufactured, pre-planned, kind of thing, and it was not, manufactured by people that are on, I don't know, the left-leaning side. I really don't think so. This has
There's no way.
MAGA stink all over it, and you can't convince me otherwise. Yeah. But I do think, like, the person that I have no idea, because in my mind that was either an incredibly lucky shot or an incredibly skilled shot.
It was
Also,
skilled.
the gun saying that did it didn't do it.
I think it was
The
skilled
gun
too.
that they had didn't kill him. It was a completely different gun, because if the gun they said actually killed him, his head would have blown off. It wouldn't have just... I have the video. Also, if anybody wants to see the video, I saved it on my phone. Because, like, there was this whole weird Reddit thing where I saw the video, and then it disappeared, and then I found it again, and so I made sure to screen record it, because I was like, this shit's gonna... Like, they're gonna try to wipe this shit from the internet, and I'm like that crazy conspiracy nut. If he had been shot by the gun they said he had been shot by, his head would have blown... It would have been gone. The tent would have been bathed in blood. That's
Necessarily. They did shoot him right in the neck, and it wasn't in the face. You know what I mean?
I'm just saying the caliber of the bullet and the fire rate of the actual gun that they say that
I
they
know.
have.
So with the sheer velocity of the round with a soft tissue target, it's actually going to through it a lot more than it would any type of like rigid structure like the head. That's where the fragmenting and the explosion comes from. That was on par, exactly what you expect to see with soft tissue damage. I've shot stuff with similar calibers. That's what it looks like.
And this is why we should be
the gun. Exactly.
This is why we should not be holding vigils for the motherfucker and instead be demanding gun reform in this fucking country. And this is kind of like where I am with this whole thing, is like people will split hairs about like every element of this thing that happened. Really what it comes down to is we should not be able to have this kind of weaponry in these places doing thit's simply, that's the argument here. But America.
I also think...
What's up, Scott?
No, I was just gonna say something else that I really wanted to talk about that I think will really help bring this into our topic for today. Is I don't know if any of you saw the book that Charlie Kirk did the foreword for, that was called The Pagan Threat.
Stacy was looking at that yesterday.
Yeah, baby, get into it.
I haven't had a chance to deep dive that.
Yeah, so a TikTok witch that I really appreciate, her name is Nevermore Aries. She did a reading of the book, particularly of Kirk's foreword for the book, and they're doing what they normally do, where they're making it kind of seem as if they're not talking about like us. They're talking about like liberalism as like another name for like Jupiter and Baal, and like as if like these philosophies are other names for the pagan gods, as if these are the diabolical things. But the problem is that they don't have they're highly uneducated, so they don't have a framework to really know what they're talking about. So like it's odd, because they start also talking about like the old world and how like they were moralists and godless and all this other stuff, which is of course not historically accurate. They actually had a really, like, most ancient pre-Christian cultures had really complex moral and societal structures, and they really leaned into what we would now call the social contract. And they understood how in order for society, civilization, and in order for our existence to go smoothly, we have to be helpful neighbors, right? And the idea of um hospitality and you know, how we treat strangers that come to our homes, and there were constants throughout many different pre-Christian cultures that kept with traditions similar, no, of course, different based on culture and region. But this book is designed to essentially pose paganism, not paganism, but paganism as a threat to Christianity, and it's a very us and them. The book discusses this idea that you know, that Christianity is what gave the world today its modern sense of morals and ethics, and you know, they take it as if
What
they've
morals?
given us
What ethics?
right. And so now they're turning people on us, and
Turning?
they've always been, but I mean to say
mean-
that this book is going to
The
radicalize
witch.
them. This book is going to radicalize them almost indefinitely. This book is already taking off.
When was the
People
book
have noted
written?
that. Hmm?
Why is this book suddenly getting into, like, was this written
Because
recently?
of Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk, because he wrote the foreword
Who
for the
fucking
book. And what
cares?
ended up
Who
happening
cares?
is that they forced the book to go through quickly, which is why this book is only currently available in a PDF format. They forced the book to release earlier than it was supposed to on his death. So this was all another big part of this whatever this is. Some people have argued to not go with a conspiratorial route, but I can't help but see the writing on the wall, and it,
Exactly.
like, even if it wasn't part of the plan, it's definitely going to help the plan, you know what I mean?
It's
So
just more fuel for the witch hunt fire, unfortunately,
right.
because obviously we talked about previously the whole Jezebel article literally dropping 2 days beforehand. I was funny. I posted this beautiful mural on Reddit, and it drew the trolls out, and they were like, it should be a picture of Charlie Kirk instead. And I was like, you feel really emboldened to start, like, basically threatening the guy, like, not threatening, but like vaguely threatening, like, you know, witches killed him, right? And why are you trying to talk on a witch's thread, kind of thing? Like, but between that and this is just adding, it's just the witch hunt is unfortunately, it's always been real, but it's just been cranking up as of late.
Right, and this book is certainly a, um, I guess, a hammer, a nail, the last nail, I think, in the coffin. With as popular as it is, it's number one currently in Christian books. Yeah, it's number one in Christian books.
Fuck them.
Also, can we talk about how he is not? Let's bring this back to religion. How Charlie Kirk is not in fucking Valhalla. Let's talk about how he
That was
didn't even Mr. Cash fucking Patel, Mr. Stain on human existence that he is, and his statement.
Honestly, I
That was-
kind of don't want to spend the whole episode talking about him, but
no. That was a dog whistle. That was a Nazi dog whistle. The whole Valhalla
Yes.
thing.
It was just the most bizarre thing to hear from
but-
Cash Patel's fucking mouth, though. Like, I just
It
wasn't
was-
expecting
it was
that.
supposed to be, because it was supposed to get the attention of people who understood what he was getting at. It wasn't supposed to be for the you know, the ignorant. But what I want to say is that right now, more than ever, we need to be not even more than ever, but once again, we probably beat this to death, but forming really solid communities, learning to try to get to pull out of corporations. So try to get, for witches, I'm talking specifically to the pagan community and even more specifically to the queer pagan community. Try to get your books from
Not
smaller book
Amazon.
businesses, not Amazon. Try to use your local
Pirate that shit.
libraries. Right? Try to use your local libraries.
Always support the library.
Carpooling, but with your community, doing things like that to start trying to build bridges in order for we have to have a more united front. We can't be as divided.
We need these corporations to become more obsolete in the sense of like we need to build a society that doesn't rely on them not nearly as heavily as we do.
Right.
And I realize that, as like a modern person, like when I'm looking, I'm like, oh, cool. There's like, this store near this place. That would be a good place to move to. And I'm like, well, what if that store wasn't there? Like any other thing could take the place of that store, So reframing, I guess, how you approach daily life.
Yeah, I just I want everyone to be prepared. I want everyone to feel safe and secure as possible in what's going to come. But particularly, about building community and yeah.
Which I think does kind of directly segue into the topic of today. So we were talking about the autumn equinox. And I mean, that's the general theme, right? It's either tonight, tomorrow, however, exactly, whichever window of time that you pick to celebrate it, it is basically between the 20th and the 22nd is like the socially accepted window of time for the equinox. So that's happening, at least in the northern hemisphere. It wouldn't be accurate for the southern hemisphere folks. And kind of wrapping into that is these concepts of community. And what builds community is kind of like everyone has to take an oath to that community, right? Everyone has to... It's like the social contract, except you actually get to say it. You know what I mean? Like, in our society, you're just kind of just born into this understanding that you will grow up, go to school, pay taxes, and die kind of thing, and you will like it. And they're like, and that's called the social contract, kids. And you're like, wait, but I don't want to do that, actually. Like, I didn't sign up for that. I didn't sign that. So I think when you start to build your own community, whether that is a spiritual based community or just a community based off of like we all like soccer, or we all like to play Pokemon cards, or whatever your community is built around, you have to kind of like... I guess I'm kind of losing my train of thought. Everyone has to buy in. Right. Everyone has to buy in. Everyone has to, be able to help out. And I'm not saying, and this kind of, I'm not saying like, oh, people are a drain on the group, drain on society. That's not really what this is coming, because everyone has a skill. Everyone has a useful thing. Whether you can physically move and lift things, or, maybe you're dyslexic as hell, and so probably, editing papers is probably not something you're good at, but maybe you can lift things. You know what I mean? So, like, all these, like, different things, all these different abilities that we have, everyone has something to contribute, and everyone is important to the strength of the community. And it's not just this, like, happy, like, oh, it's not like a kumbaya type thing. It's really not, because we're going to like right now it can maybe sound like that, but to people who are within marginalized groups, they understand like, nope, you need people in your corner in order to survive. And it's always been that way. It has always been that way. Why do you think like getting shunned, like we talk about like ancient civilizations, right, and how we glorify them sometimes and romanticize them, but one of the things that could happen to you is you could be shunned from the community. Like if you fucked up, if you broke that social contract, bad enough, or if people hated you enough, and I don't know, getting back on the subject of like witch hunts and stuff, because this shit did happen. People are petty bitches, and we've always been petty bitches, right?
Yeah.
So, like, like to be shunned from the community, it was almost a fate worse than death. It was the slowest death you could possibly choose, because everything is on you now. Every medicinal herb you need to find is on you. Every single piece of food that you need to consume, to keep yourself alive, it's on you. It's 100% on you now. And when you're shunned, and like, you don't realize how much work that actually is to like take. So if you take well, I'll just grow my own food. Okay, well, if I take the seed, I put it in the dirt, it needs time. It needs time to turn into food. So what are you going to eat in between the time that it takes to grow the next food? You know what I mean? So like, you need community and you need people. And yeah.
Absolutely. I think we don't I know that today it's really hard to stay committed to things, oaths and pacts, whether that's with our community or whether it's with our spirits. I know it's hard because we have obligations, and I think that there's always a little wiggle room. But I think that you have to really be invested. I think it's time to get serious about, and it's been time. It's been time to get serious, but I'm specifically talking again to the occult and pagan community. And like you were saying, I know it sounds all, kumbaya, whatever. It sounds kind of cheesy. It sounds kind of whatever, but that we're talking about something practical. You know what I mean? We're talking about something that really helps to resist what's happening, the bad things that are happening, and at the same time, it helps to strengthen us. So by the end of all the bad things happening, we actually have, a place. Like if you think about it, like I keep thinking about this, the occult shops we have left, which are none here, but there are certain cities. But now it's almost like you have to travel out to get occult supplies.
Yeah.
Or you have to order online.
A chance to plug our business Betwixt occult supplies. Sorry.
It's true though.
We should have there should be access to those things. Like I've never been able to really understand why it is that occult shops don't do well. For instance, in Philly, they used to do really well. Harry's was open for generations, and I just think that we need to be really taking care of really making sure we're putting our money where our mouth is, taking care of our pagan businesses as well, because they're part of our community. And those people, they're not.
If it takes a couple extra days for the book to get there, or if it takes a couple extra days for shipping for the thing to get there, then so be it. Right. Because you're ordering from a smaller shop, as a smaller, operation, and you're not saying, oh, I can get, I don't even know what the hell people would buy online. Like, let me get some mugwort. I need some dried mugwort. Amazon.com mugwort. It'll be here in 4 hours. Great, on paper, sure. How convenient, but also not good.
Well, if you're also local to us, you should just be going to like your local train tracks or park and just picking some.
True.
Go to your local Oak Haven farm.
Learning.
No, okay.
learning how to wildcraft and learning how to find things in the landscape is also really effective.
You don't have to be an expert at it either. I am not an expert with anything herbs. I use every fucking plant identifier app, book, resource to make sure that I'm identifying my shit right. And after time, though, after it becomes does become repetitive after a while. Like, I can start to identify certain herbs now just by sight, or certain, things that we call weeds. I know are not actually weeds, and I can actually start to identify them by sight. Some are hard though, because you're like, that looks really similar to that thing, and if you're like me and you have a shitload of anxiety and you love second guessing yourself and triple guessing and
That's why everybody has a cell phone.
right, and and that's where you combine that modern tech, right? You bring that in, and that's it helps. It all is part of kind of what we're doing here as a modern occult practitioner. But I really do encourage people, go foraging for stuff. Just make sure you're doing it smartly, and if you're in an urban, I can really only speak to an urban setting. I have not gone out and foraged in the woods by any stretch, okay? So I'm not the person to give you forest guide safety. That would be Sophia over there.
100%.
So two things. First off, you're not actually even supposed to forage in a city for stuff that you're going to be consuming directly, because of the fact that cars emit exhaust, which it will cling to the plants. You're not even supposed to collect plants for consumption via roadsides, because of how much lead they can accumulate and how it has caused certain species of plants along roadsides to mutate. Certain plantain, for example, rather than having a single main stamen, which is the thing that comes out with the seed pod, they'll have two, which is an indication of a mutation. And you have to be really careful to not do stuff that's too close to polluted areas, because plants are one of the first things to absorb it. And you also really have to rigorously, it's not enough to know how to handle and harvest the plant. You need to know how to process and utilize it, right? So for example, I'm very comfortable using something like cedar because it's really easy to harvest in the ways that I know. You're supposed to not do certain things that can hurt the plant. I don't even like to use metal tools. I'll break a part of the plant where it has less energy going to, because the more supple a limb is, the more bendy it is. And if it's drier and easier to break, there's less energy going to it, so the plant needs it less, right? So you have to kind of work with what the tree is willing to give you. Once you've taken it, processing's it really easy. Some people recommend you dry it for 4 days. I find sometimes I need to use it the day of, especially if it's for a sickness that I'm getting. Your use and your toxicology will determine your levels of exposure. For example, I don't drink or have really any factors of liver toxicity, so that I know that if I drink a more stiff cup of cedar tea, which does have a small degree of liver toxicity, I'm not going to have issues with it, because I don't drink at all. I'm not taking meds that impact my liver. My liver does get checked for shit with medication on my blood tests. And I'm okay to drink cedar tea for a fact, because I really know that one in and out. And then let's say something like Prunella vulgaris to pull an infection out of your hand. That one you can even use in a city, because it's all pure topical, and it's just, you just take it and you put it on a wound. Yeah, you can get a little absorption into your system, but it's not the same thing as something that you're harvesting to make into a drink that you're consuming, like cedar tea, So it really is a plant by plant basis on knowing how the plant works, how you process it, what it does to your body, and what any toxicology feedback is, So you really got to know the plant intimately and how to cure it and what parts to use. Because some plants, you can't use the flower, but you can use the leaf. Some plants, you can't use the leaf, but you can use the root. Some plants, you can use certain parts of it, but in very small doses. I'm looking at you, foxglove. Fun fact with foxglove, which is one of the main herbs you'd see people in Europe using back in the day. It's also known as digitalis, and in very small amounts, it's literally blood pressure and heart medication. In high enough amounts, it'll stop your heart dead.
Yep.
So you've just really, really, really got to not fuck around if you're doing plants. You research it from somebody else who has used it. And this is going to sound terrible. You always test on yourself, not on somebody else. If you haven't administered it for the first time, I would never, ever use a plant on somebody I've not used on myself firsthand. That is just, it would feel immoral. You're basically using them as an experiment,
Yeah. I always try to tell people too, that especially when learning herbalism, to try to use try to learn to use like basic nervines for things to calm, like learn to get used to herbs with the things that we know probably won't, almost what we do know won't hurt you. But also learn like side effects. Like generally speaking, St. John's wort isn't generally harmful, but it's best not taken with your psych meds. um it can interact with your psych meds and it's not great. So there is
Yeah,
a learning
exactly.
curve. But I think that don't go for are more I don't want to say stronger, but the more poisonous herbal allies. And remember, poison, the dose makes the poison. A lot of poisons that were used for medicinal purposes. Um, so it's not me saying don't use poisons or don't grow poisons, or I'm not even trying to scare you away. Like we I was having a conversation not that long ago with another witch. We were talking about, we have a lot of aconite anxiety. We are terrified of aconite. Particularly in it's a phenomenon often very much seen in America.
Hmm.
We're very scared of the aconite plant. Which, don't get me wrong, like the aconite plant is very deadly and it absolutely will kill you, but it's not going to like if you're just like if you are wearing gloves, or if you are taking a cutting of it but you know that you don't have open wounds on your hands, you will be fine. Now the reason why we get so scared is because there was an incident with a gardener, not a farmer. He was a gardener and he had open cuts on his hands, and he was tending to his aconite plant or plants, and the juice of it got into his cut and it killed him. But that was because it got into an open wound. One, two, he also had prior existing medical conditions that made it easier for the poison. He really didn't take in a lethal dose, but so generally we're a little, like, at times we're a little too cautious. But it's funny because it reminds me of a conversation I was just having with Darian yesterday about fire safety. And he said, because
Fire
he's in a
safety.
chemistry lab, and
Yeah.
he was telling his desk mate, if you know what it's like to take lab in college, you always have someone next to you, or in high school, and they were really nervous about lighting the Bunsen burner. And Darian was like, no, 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 you can't be nervous. That's how you get hurt. Just light it. You know what I mean? The more nervous you are, the more mistakes you're going to make. So there's sort of this level of like, learn to get comfortable handling herbs.
Yeah.
And the way that you get comfortable and more confident is by building, firstly by practice, but like I said, practice with things like lavender and skullcap and lanceolata. Oh my God. Sophia just mentioned it. The lanceolata. It heals wounds.
Prunella vulgaris.
Yeah. No. There's a different one. What is it called?
Plantain.
Yeah, plantain. I always know it in lanceolata, but it's probably another plantain plant. Probably in the same genus. So yeah. So use plantain. That's good for like you can even make a great wound healer with plantain and peppermint. Plantain likes to heal. Peppermint is an what is that called? Styptic. When it stops the blood. And then it
You are correct.
so it
It's a
helps to numb.
styptic.
A styptic, yeah.
It's also known as, if you want to conjugate it the other way, you have stymied the wound.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure. I didn't know that, but thank you. But yeah, so like you could do like a great poultice, and they're relatively non-invasive herbs to work with. Definitely big research has to go into working with like belladonna for sleep. You know what I mean? Like great aid. It does truly, not just practical magic. It genuinely does help with sleep, but it could also put you to sleep forever if you don't know what you're doing.
It's also
So
like
you
if
know,
you
Many songs
don't
were written about belladonna.
Yeah, and it's like if
Yes.
you don't want to work with the poison herbs, you also don't have to, and it doesn't make you any
No,
less
you
of an
don't.
herbalist. You know,
Absolutely not.
it really doesn't. Because like me personally, I'm not a huge herb person, and only because like I don't have a ton of the knowledge. It doesn't always come very naturally to me. So when I'm working with herbs, I want to be very specific and careful, and just make sure I have the thing that I have. Because sometimes I buy from shops that I don't know. We have that stupid East Meets West store that's up in a mall, and sometimes we pop in because, again, we have a lack of, good occult sources around here. And sometimes, like I'll buy an herb and I know it's a dice roll, and I have to like make sure that like what I have is what I have, kind of thing. So, um, I personally
I had a huge
would
point about
not
this too.
work. I would not work with poisons, right? Like I would not grow them. I would not cultivate them. I really wouldn't do that. I probably wouldn't even purchase them if I wanted something made with them. Like flying ointment is really the thing that I really go to, that I would honestly even think of. If there was like something that I will just go purchase a witch's flying ointment, that someone who makes a flying ointment that I like,
That
kind of thing.
right, that can,
Yeah.
yeah, well, that makes sense. I'm much more comfortable working with poisons.
I was
As I've
just gonna
said,
say, if we need poisons, we don't work with them. You don't work with them because I don't work with them because I'm just way too neurodivergent, and I'd poison myself accidentally. Like I don't even know who allows me to handle plant matter in the form of because like if you could OD on this shit, I would have, like, seriously. But like
So
we don't deal with that because we got people like Scott and Tara Love McGuire. Why would we deal
so
with this? Like,
Tara
this is
McGuire.
actually why I heavily harp on about cedar. So cedar can actually be toxic for you, but not in a way that's going to outright kill you, but it can make you sick, right?
Mhm.
And it's not
But
hard to make cedar tea. Realistically, all you have to do is harvest it in the correct way, pull the needles off, throw a cup or more, depending on how quick you want it to concentrate up. Although generally, the less concentrated, the better, because if it's too concentrated, your stomach will actually struggle to. And this goes for any plant medicine. Like I use hydrastrate extract. If you mix your drink too thick, your stomach can physically repulse it because it's not used to taking that type of medicine. So you also have to consider for how ingesting it's going to affect you, right? But I like cedar tea because you can fuck up on it, but you're not going to just kill yourself on it, right? I wouldn't do it if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, obviously, as like anybody knows, those are different stipulations within herb use. But like you have to cook it to the point where it reaches an amber color. And I don't know anybody selling cedar that isn't just selling dried cedar, which is basically useless for this because you need the actual like sap and the juices inside it. So it gets you in the process of doing two things. One, you basically have to harvest your own, which is where a lot of people who do plant magic will fall short. This is almost becoming a plant magic episode. But autumn and harvests, it's still fairly on
It
point.
fits.
So the big thing that I like to harp on, it works if you buy your herbs from the store, but if they're not being harvested in a magical way or with like ritualized intent, it's not the same, right? It's like we talked about, and Scott gave an example of, my cow is sick, so I go to the local root worker, whatever it was, and they give you a little bag of rue that I hang around the cow's neck, and now the cow is good. Well, I'm just going to go pick my own rue and copy the charm. Wait, why didn't it work? This person is selling snake oil, right? But a lot of the ritualized intent of using herbs is in the process of harvesting them, like telling them what you're going to be using them for, giving the exchange, whether you're singing songs, whether you're giving like certain offerings of like water or some type of like herb in exchange. I've even seen people give their hair in exchange, and that's a good faith offering. But a lot of the power in herbs that we use come in the exchange and almost the bartering and a striking up of conversation between you and that plant itself and its spirit, And if you're just buying lavender from Walmart, you're going to have to expect it to be lavender from Walmart. Now, the other caveat is that if you're ordering this or buying it from somebody who does their own ritualized practices, it's a whole different goat. Like, I get certain herbs harvested specifically by a group of people who do it in a very traditional way. It's all proper. The plant is thanked. They're given the proper offerings, and it hits entirely different than the plant that's just harvested like it's a commodity. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right. See, that's I see. I think that I do think it's for me. I will say it's funny because I've heard people also say like working with dried herb is a form of like green necromancy. The idea that you are sort of conjuring the plant spirit back almost.
Right, because it is
That is an idea
dead.
that
Like
I've heard.
it's not alive any
I don't
longer.
have anything against.
So,
I don't have anything against using dried herbs. In fact, like, a lot of the herbs I use do have to be dried, right? It's just that
Yeah.
often you have to do the proper protocol in the harvesting because there's a good chunk of what makes it work in the bartering with the plant when it comes. You're still going to work with it in post after it's been dried in a similar way to what you're talking about. But if somebody hadn't done that process to begin with, I would probably want to get the plant myself and do it myself.
It is, yes. I know it because there are like I think I've definitely discussed this before. Where there are like very particular prayers that are said even when picking St. John's wort, which has always been one of my favorite protective herbs. It's an amazing protective herb, but and I actually grew it for a while, but there are words to be said. There are ritual action to be said when taking the herb. I also do believe that I found, because I used to think about this a lot, and that it is very true that for a lot of herbs, especially when you're picking them by yourself for a particular ritual purpose, there should be a ritualized taking of the plant. Whether it be like certain plants can't be taken with the right hand, they have to be taken with the left, or vice versa. Sometimes it has to be at a certain moon. All these things are very traditional.
we have to use a certain metal sometimes.
Or no metal at all. It really
Or no
depends.
metal
Or
at
a
all.
certain plant has to be harvested at daytime because it's solar and it goes to sleep when the moon cycle is happening. And certain plants have to be harvested at nighttime because they're lunar and they will go to sleep when the day cycle is happening.
And it's funny because a lot of the time that follows compounds. So a lot of the time you'll find that that's when certain compounds are strongest in the plant.
I do
and
kind of
they say
want to
that when
drop
you-
one little nugget into this conversation, though. It really depends on the system of magic that you are working within, because every system has different rules. So, you know, one system can be like, you know, you can harvest that herb whenever you want, and then another, you know, culture or system, especially when we're getting into folk magic traditions, or even like native spirituality, right? You know, it's like, hey, well, that's well and good. Y'all do it that way, but we do it this way. So it is. You also have to take into account the context you're
different
working
traditions
within.
have different a different way of doing things. Absolutely. And of course, those things will all change. But
what's funny is I've also seen a huge amount of flex within certain traditions. Like, let's say you don't have this. Yeah, you can give them water instead. Or let's say you don't have water. Yeah, you can give them your hair instead. Or sometimes, like, they just want you to, like, tell the plant what you're going to be using it for, you know, and, like, just ask. Sometimes it's literally just that simple, you know?
Yep. That's a method that I use. It's one of my favorites, actually, because I like to give the plant spirit enough time to say, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? So like I say, hey, you know,
it's about consent and respect, you know?
And I've had plants go, no, thank you. They're like, okay, thanks. when I was first coming into learning this method and really expanding, moving away from like herbs as a correspondence chart kind of thing, and learning about them as, you know, independent numinous beings, I had a hard time sort of accepting no. I remember when I was younger, I was like, kind of like, are you sure? You know, and it was like,
really?
You know, one thing I learned very quickly is that spirits do not like to be asked multiple times.
A second time, yeah.
No.
Also,
like,
you know
but
what's
I really
funny
wanted to
too?
use you, please. Yeah.
There's also a thing that happens when you develop a relationship with a certain plant type, because this is a thing I've noticed in nature in general, animals or plants know how you've treated other members of their group. So, for example, I've never harmed a rabbit in any way, shape, or form. I've never scared a rabbit intentionally. I've only ever tried to be as kind as possible to them because I love them. They're little babies and they deserve the best and they're anxious all the time.
Mm.
And rabbits are super, super, super chill around me, right? They don't have a problem with me, but other people will come up and they'll be like, yo, fuck that person. And they'll be like, it's a rabbit. I wanted to chase it, you know? And they know. Like, another example is wasps. There's wasps in my hometown that I've had intergenerational beef with. And it's like they told their family members or something, but they see me and I've been gone for a decade. It's on fucking sight. They're trying to kill me, right? And I'm killing them, you know? And like, it's back to like blood feud shit. Wasps out here in Toronto, if they get scared or lost, they'll like climb up onto my arm and just hitch a ride and be like, okay, I'm safe here. And I like had to brush one off in a store in a panic one time, and I felt so bad I had to step on it because it wasn't going to be able to get outside and it was just going to panic sting someone, right? But that never came back on me either because I don't kill wasps in the wasp traps. I'm literally the person that lets them out. And they remember me and they're like, okay, you're cool. We're not going to fuck with you. I'm telling you, since I've been letting wasps out of the traps, I've not been stung once. We also had a hornet's nest at the place that we're filming at. And sorry, I've been toggling my camera. I'm just very low battery here. We were filming at a farm. And there's a hornet's nest and somebody got stung. And if you know anything about hornets, they're way more aggressive and they're bigger, right?
Yeah.
They're not black and yellow, they're black and white, and they will fuck you up and can even kill you. So I literally just went, gave an offering to them, and I asked them very nicely, hey guys, we have to film here. We don't want to cause any harm to your home, and it'll be even safer for you if none of us get hurt. Because if none of us get hurt, and none of you are getting hurt, and we're all happy, we can go home safe. Nobody wants conflict, we just want peace. Nobody got stung for the entire duration of us having shooting at that place. Nobody's been stung by a hornet or a wasp. Because I asked them fucking nicely, right?
It's actually funny because when we're at when I'm at Jay and Rue's house, they have a lot of bees, carpenter and whatever else, and sometimes there's wasps. And I always like start talking to them. And I was like, hey, we're going to share the space and we're not interested in hurting you. And, we're just here to share space with you. Like, whatever. And I kind of, what I like to do is, even though I don't think they can understand my words, I like to psychically impress upon them a sense of like non-hostility. And it actually always works. Like none of us have gotten stung. And they often just like fly away. You know what I mean? I just use my words out loud so I can focus on passing the vibe, the energy through my words and at the creature. So that way they understand, like, I'm not fighting. I'm not, whatever. I'll even sometimes, like, when wasps are getting too close, I don't mind the worker bees or whatever. They don't really do anything, but the wasps particularly, sometimes they'll say, hey, you guys are flying really close and it makes me very nervous. Can you fly a little further away from me to make me feel a little bit more comfortable? And it helps. I really think it helps. I know that sounds a little silly, but
it doesn't. Like, I ask the ants not to bite me when we are working around fire ants, and I'm like the only fucking person on the crew not getting bitten because I watch where their nest is. I ask them not to hurt me, and they're like, "You're cool. What's up? Nobody bite her. She's cool." And it's just that simple.
I have asked the mosquitoes to please stop. Please.
Oh, mosquitoes don't give a fuck. They have a whole different energy. Okay, so like I have a rant about mosquitoes too. Because it's because they feed on us, literally.
Yeah.
They don't care about not listening to us. We're their food. For them to survive and reproduce, they have to bite us. It's non-negotiable, right? Every other insect doesn't actually want smoke with us because we're basically an eldritch entity by comparison to them. We're so big we could destroy their entire fucking nest, and some of them couldn't even like kill us, even if they did their best effort. And we can deploy things like poisons and neurotoxins that can just kill all of them. Like, we're beyond their comprehension, and they typically just don't want to fuck with us, right? But things like mosquitoes, they don't care about risk. They only thinking about that reward. It's like cicadas, scream, fuck, die. Okay, all they want to do is fucking die, and it's the exact same thing for the what's it called? For the mosquitoes. God, when I have that fucking blank moment. They need you. They need your blood at all costs, including their life, right, to ensure the continuity of their species. There is no negotiating with mosquitoes, as sad as that is. Even though the male mosquitoes are very good nighttime pollinators, the women are coming to eat you alive, and they'll always be coming to eat you alive, and you got to swat those fuckers, because that's just nature saying, hey, not everything is going to play nice. Sometimes you just got to kill a motherfucker, and it's a lesson we all should
It
learn.
is.
When
Yeah.
something's trying to drink your blood, you're literally allowed to just swat it and kill it. So just remember that in case something's trying to drink your fucking essence.
This is
In
a
non
metaphor.
metaphorical and metaphorical
This is a
sense. No,
metaphor.
in a metaphor and a non-metaphorical sense. If someone's
Right.
trying to drink your blood or steal your life essence, you are ordained by
It's
the
on.
universe to cap that motherfucker.
Yes. On.
They also he is their favorite blood type, so he is unfortunately stricken by him and my mother, and we found at least 4 or 5 other people, and included oh my gosh, I'm completely
Darian.
blanking. But yeah, he has the O positive, and so
Oh,
he's
yeah.
super delicious. And it's
Yeah.
like literally they did a whole fucking study on it and everything like that. But honestly, plug out to another vendor. We got this spray from Lehigh.
Actually,
or
right
from-
here on my desk because it's right by the
Oh,
back door.
Perfect plug.
Yeah. Plug for one of my.
Oh, cool.
That's New Earth Essentials. They vended a lot of the PA, and I think I don't know if they're at South Jersey this year. It's called Bye Bye Bloodsucker. So the blend is eucalyptus, lemongrass, lemon eucalyptus, citronella, cedarwood, and geranium. Other ingredients: perfumers, alcohol, distilled water, and vegetable glycerin. So yeah, that oil blend right there. And again, this is one of the things. Could I have made this myself? Yes, absolutely.
100%.
Actually,
But did I have
know
the
a
time
secret
to
item
make
you can
that?
add
No,
to
I
it to
didn't.
improve it.
Huh?
So, real talk though, if you want to make Betwixt called supplies, all natural mosquito repellent, I know another thing that we can add to that, and I can even just say it on air because most people aren't going to go and make their own mosquito repellents. They would buy that from somebody. Mint. Mosquitoes
mint, yeah.
fucking hate mint. You can literally, it's one of the natural best mosquito repellents ever. You just get mint, crush it up, and rub it on your arms and your sleeves and shit, and they'll fuck right off. They just cannot handle it. It's like toxic almost to them. I don't know if it literally is, but they just fuck off like it is.
Yeah, my dad used to watch that Moonshiner show, and one of the tactics they use half water and half mouthwash, and they spray their arms, with that, and it keeps the mosquitoes away. And I literally tried that, and I was like, wow. Now, and I was like, well, I don't really like the feeling of mouthwash necessarily. Yeah, I was like, oh, if I could just get some like some crushed mint or something like
we
that.
used to do the mouthwash and water. That works if you want a cheap, effective
mosquito
repellent. It's just mouthwash and water. But yeah, you can always buy one of them fancy sprays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, but no, it's so funny you were mentioning our lovely backyard. I love our backyard. And speaking of oaths, we had pagan Thanksgiving yesterday, Orange Fest, and I made meatballs and sauce from scratch with my 2 hands, using tomatoes from my garden. Everyone, there wasn't a bite left. Everyone, I felt my ancestors moving through me. It was just absolutely wonderful. And also my lovely husband pointed out that our local land spirits broke into our locked shed and ate all the peanuts. Like literally broke into the shed, broke open a hole, and shredded a bag of peanuts and the bag of birdseed.
Was this
this is just
after...
this week.
Oh God. I was kind of waiting. We were very lenient with them when we were there, and then I'm not surprised.
I took the rest of this giant bag of birdseed and I just dumped it outside. I was like, listen, it's out here now. You don't
like
have to go.
Pound of birdseed.
I just dumped it in the yard. I was like, here, have at it. Enjoy. Please, there's nothing in the shed that could possibly interest you, so please don't go back. Now I have to figure out how to patch this stupid ass. They chew through this hard ass plastic. Like, they worked so hard. I couldn't even be mad. Could not even be mad about it. I was just like, that's impressive. The Grand
Yeah.
But
Squirrel
also
Heist.
speaking of the bumblebees, they love. I'm calling them Betsy and Johnson, and for the sake of legality, I won't show pictures on live stream. But if anybody wants to know what Betsy and Johnson look like, let me know. And they have been just such a great pollinating aspect for our backyard. Like there was this big old fat bee just living on a bud for like 2 days. I was like, I want to be that bee. I want to
Be
be
the
that
bee.
bee right there.
Be that
So, real quick, in regards to our book club, what day were we going to do the book review on? Just so I know we're
Yes.
caught up.
So, book club. So, for anyone who is listening, there's a couple. I will acknowledge the chat in a second. The book club book is Passport to Magonia. That is the name of it. It's kind of a book about UFOs, but it's actually a book about fairies too. So I'm enjoying it. I'm not done it yet, but I'm enjoying it. So the episode in which we will discuss this particular book is October 12th. That's what we had written down here.
Gotcha. I can't make next week because I have to work on a Sunday, which is strange, but it's a one-time thing.
Honestly, that might be fine because South Jersey Pagan Pride is this Saturday, and to have Sunday to just vegetate after that will be awesome.
We don't have a day off until November. I feel like the Gaga meme. Club, another club, plane, show. But yeah, no, it goes South Jersey. We just had Orange Fresh yesterday. We took our full oaths. Look at my beautiful rune nails. Stacy helped me with them. I would go into all the meetings, but I just my brain's fried. I've been smoking too much weed. But what's it called? There's South Jersey Pagan Pride. There's York Pagan Pride. We're thinking about getting a hotel room the night of York Pagan Pride so that we can go to the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair for Rob's 60th birthday, literally the next day, even though we're originally planning to do the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair on the 11th. And then the 18th is the haunted house. And then the weekend after that,
yes,
I don't got a day off until November.
Yeah, and then you got to keep up with like laundry and groceries and like have a full-time job on top of all that.
Adult.
Yeah. But yeah, I did want to acknowledge we did have some people in the chat. We had about 5 people at one point. So here today we have Kai, we have Sage. Those are the 2 chatters that I see in there. Kai was saying earlier when we were talking about herbs that Pennyroyal is another one that you want to be careful with.
Yeah.
And Sage likes the talking to bugs tactic next time you're out in the wild. Yeah, try it. Talk to bugs. But yeah, it depends on which bug will actually listen to you. I guess the bugs that want to eat you will continue to eat you. Kai was saying, I had a bad accidental run-in with fire ants when I was a small bean. I accidentally stood on a fire ant hill while fishing and was absolutely covered in them. I am now very cautious about fire ants. I would imagine so. I would imagine after that experience, you've learned to levitate, actually, and not touch the ground when you walk.
Stop it, Kai. Why do we have the same childhood? Literally. Stop it, Kai. I just read that. Like, oh my god, like the amount of sympathy as a small bean growing up in Texas and not knowing what a fire ant colony in your sandbox looks like. Oh my god, the agony.
And then Kai was also saying, one summer I kept a spray bottle full of mint water, delightful. Also basil. Rubbing basil on my arms helped repel bugs. Oh, I didn't know basil. Yeah, I guess basil would be one of them too. And thyme. Basil and thyme. Basically, like Italian seasonings, I guess, are delicious in they repel mosquitoes. I don't know. That's how that works. Yeah. So that was me catching up the chat. Yeah. Oh, look at us, back up to 5. So I just wanted to acknowledge everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for coming out. We're still going. I don't really think we're ever gonna stop. I think this is just what we do now. This is what we do. I feel like I had Oh, right. My ending sort of little spiel here. So if you do want to support the podcast, that would be through Ko-fi. Or if you know anyone who wants to support a podcast, that would be through Ko-fi. Or you can also just donate to our PayPal account directly. Like if you ever just like, hey, here's $5, thanks for doing what you do. We appreciate it all. It helps us pay for like the hosting and website fees. We have not cracked a profit. This is a labor of love through and through at the moment. So hoping to take that to the next
Mama's
level.
trying to quit her job, so Mama's gonna need y'all to start donating. The capitalism be capitalism hard, and
Yeah.
like I just got the ability to go live on TikTok today,
Mm.
so watch out. You're gonna see my face a lot more on the internet, and yeah, like this. Just honestly, if y'all have a Pagan Pride in your area, go to Pagan Pride. Like getting to see like people at like making connections, and it's so funny. We were talking about community. That's what I wrote on my paper. I don't know if I'm not supposed to share it, but that's what I wrote on my paper that I burned at Urge Fest yesterday was community. Because that's really like I don't want to get emotional. I haven't taken my SSRIs in a week. Can you tell? But the pagan community has given is my life, and I love it so fucking much. Like my kindred and my coven and my circle and this podcast and the business that has spawned from it, and just everything is just I'm walking around with runes on my nails, and I finally I have a ring that I bought from a Pagan Pride, and I'm so excited. I got a sign from basically the god and goddess of my religion yesterday that I'm doing good, and I'm like on cloud fucking 9. And I love it. So if you love us and you want to spend some money on us, you should. That's all.
Yeah, we do have the Ko-fi tiers. So we do have Tink. Tink is a subscriber to that tier, and Tink always wants us to remember people of Palestine, free Palestine. Sorry to do a last minute plug to answer your question, Sage. It's the shop website is just witchesbetwixt.com/shop. There's podcast merch in there, and then also the other things that we make. There will be more getting added to the online store after
Shrine mirrors.
After the vending.
We made paper and pens. Yeah.
Can I add something to the coffee that hasn't been paid for? Epstein didn't kill himself. Release the fucking Epstein files, you sons of bitches.
For $6.66 a month, you can ask us to release the Epstein files every Sunday.
And we'll demand it every Sunday. I'm going to just demand the release of the Epstein files every week. Anyways,
every Sunday.
Maybe I'll get thrown off my balcony and you won't see me here a Sunday,
Well, I guess with that, free Palestine and release the goddamn Epstein files. And I guess with that, we will see you all.
Charlie Kirk didn't kill himself.
We will see you all in the next one.